How do you even begin to review a movie like this? As a huge fan of the animated version from the 90s, I knew that I was coming into this with a little bit of bias, but I tried really hard to keep an open mind. I thought that the casting for this movie was absolutely wonderful, pretty much as close to perfect as you could get. Emma Watson as Belle, Kevin Kline as Maurice, Dan Stevens as the Beast is so both aggressive and charming at the same time. It's a very difficult balance to strike, I think, and he did it so well. Ewan McGregor as Lumiere, Ian McKellen as Cogsworth, Luke Evans as Gaston was absolutely wonderful. He did the perfect character that you love to hate in this story. And Josh Gad as LeFou was absolutely lovely. He brought, I think, a level of thoughtfulness to LeFou's character that I would never have even thought to look for before seeing this movie, which I thought was very lovely and thoughtful of the creative minds of this film. It looked to me as though they took more inspiration from the story, the original story from the 1700s of Beauty and the Beast. I think it's impossible to fully follow what was in the original story because it doesn't take into account all of the household characters that are so meaningful and lovely to this story, especially once you've seen and fallen in love with the animated story that was certainly a staple of my childhood. So I think that they did a really good job of balancing what people probably of my generation were expecting or were hoping to see, which was a lot of callbacks to the animated story and a lot of the same, beautiful moments between Belle and the Beast and between her and all of the characters within the castle. Lumiere in particular, but also Mrs. Potts sort of guiding the Beast in his sort of quest to better himself and to win Belle over in the hopes of breaking the spell and all of that. There were some really lovely moments. There were some things that they changed that I was sort of really looking for, and I think I kind of missed them. The one in particular was the scene where the Beast shows Belle his library. In the animated version, it's a really sweet and funny conversation between the Beast and Lumiere and Cogsworth, where he says he wants to do something nice for her.
I've never felt this way about anyone. I want to do something for her. But what?
Well, there's new things, flowers, chocolates, promises you don't intend to keep. No. It has to be something very special. Something that sparks her interest. Wait a minute.
Seemed to me like in comparison to that moment that I remembered so well, it fell flat a little bit for me, that library scene that should, I think, be an epic moment in their relationship. And it's still made significant, but it's really not on the same level as far as I'm concerned. I thought that Maurice and LeFou really shined in this. They have all of the same sort of relationship dynamics that I remembered from the animated feature, but then also there's more layers to LeFou's personality and his journey in this story that I thought were really important. You see how swept away he is, I guess, in Gaston in general, and how it sways his decisions and his actions, and he's really just as caught up in the thrill of being close to Gaston as all of the other townspeople are. And I think towards the end of the story, you see him sort of change, and there's a little bit of a twist in that aspect of the story that I found really refreshing and really actually lovely to watch. The other thing that I thought was really wonderful about this story was that they do mention Belle's mother. It's something that's completely missing from the animated movie and is very important to add depth to the story because obviously she had a mother, and I think the way they tie it in this film is really thoughtful and very interesting, and it does add a lot of depth to the story. So overall, I really did enjoy this movie. I think that it's done like beautifully put together. All of the big, like sweeping kind of like the town scenes are done very well. All of the castle scenes where all of the characters are together are put together beautifully. I thought that the costumes were great. The casting, to me, which is one of the most essential things in a story like this, or in a musical in particular, that's so important. I thought they handled it so well. They chose incredibly talented people, incredibly gifted character actors, which is so lovely to see. They really took on the personalities of these characters that you know so much about already and love so much. So I thought they did that so well. I think if you haven't seen this movie already, you definitely want to watch it. I don't think there's going to be anything, kind of life-changing about this movie compared to, for example, the Disney version from the 90s. The storyline, the plot line is very similar, but it is certainly worth watching. If you are a fan of musicals, if you love this story, you won't be disappointed. It's a really lovely, really well thought out version of the film.